Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, I hope you're all well. You're doing well. Baruch Hashem, I got my second vaccination today, and so I hope we'll be able to see each other personally in the very near future and get out of this. In this week's parsha, we have naturally Makas Bechoros. And the Torah tells us that Moshe told Paro that Makas Bechoros would occur Kachatzos Alayla. Kachatzos means approximately, about midnight, half the night. When the Makkah happened, it says Bachatzos. It happened exactly at midnight. So Rashi comments the idea that why did Moshe say Kachatzos, approximately at midnight, if he knew that the Rebbe Shalom was going to do it Bachatzos, exactly at midnight? Yes? Not, can you call back in a half hour, please? So why did Moshe say Kachatzos when he knew that it was going to happen Bachatzos? And Rashi says the answer that if he would have told Paro exactly 12.00 Greenwich Mean Time, and what if it happened at 12.01 Greenwich Mean Time? Paro would say, you see, there doesn't count. Unless you think that idea is far-fetched. Because after all, if one is working a tremendous miracle such as Makas Bechoros, and the miracle happens 20 seconds after it's supposed to happen, one would think, well, what's the difference? The miracle happened. But in the eyes of the non-believers, that's enough to discredit the miracle. Facts don't matter to people who are believers or who are non-believers. The non-believers believe just as much as the believers, except they believe in something else. We see that in our time, how you have believers in social systems and political parties and all sorts of things that are proven to have been bankrupt over 100 years. But no one changes their mind. That's what Chazal meant when they said, Rishoyim, afilu al pischo shel gehenim, einam chozrim b'tshuva. Definition of an evil person is that even when that person is standing on the threshold of hell, when it is clear who will be rewarded and who will be punished, they don't change their mind. But mainly it's a problem of ego. Paro is the example of the greatest ego that there was. That's why the Novi says, Paro says, Li yaor v'ani asisini. The river Nile belongs to me. I made it. It's my river. So then how can I be wrong? So if it happens at 12:01, then it's a proof that you're wrong, no matter that everybody died. No matter that the miracle happened, but it didn't happen exactly the way you said it was going to happen. That proves that you were off by 50 seconds. So that proves the fact that it's not a miracle, and I don't have to listen to you, and I'm right, and I'm not going to change my mind. And that's the ultimate analysis of what it is to be a Rasha, what it is to be an evil person. I always have that concept regarding anti-Semitism. By now it should be proved to everyone in the world that anti-Semitism doesn't pay. All of the anti-Semitic countries have paid an enormous price for their anti-Semitism. Spain lost an empire. Germany's been destroyed twice. The Soviet Union fell. The Arabs have fallen into all sorts of disarray and problems. It just doesn't pay. It's a losing strategy. Nobody changes their mind. Anti-Semitism has made the United Nations completely irrelevant on all issues. Who cares what they say? Nevertheless, not going to change. That's a great lesson that the Torah wants to teach us. That's why it says that Moshe should say kachatzos, approximately in the middle of the night, even though it's going to happen bachatzos, because they'll say on my watch, you were late. There's a famous Gemara that supports this idea. Wondrous Gemara. Gemara tells us that there was a Jew by the name of Nakdiman Ben Gurion. You shouldn't think that Ben Gurion invented the name. It's older than he. The Gemara says that Nakdiman Ben Gurion, who lived at the time of the Second Temple, the Bayesheni, was a very wealthy man and a very influential man. And he had influence with the Romans as well. And the Gemara tells us that there was once a year of Shnat Batzoret, didn't rain. Since it didn't rain, the reservoirs and aqueducts and wells were pretty much empty. The Gemara describes for us that on the road to Yerushalayim, every few kilometers, there were wells, biraot, that were set up so that the Ovrei Derech, the pilgrims, people then either rode to Jerusalem on an animal or in a wagon, pulled by an animal, or they walked. And so that required water on the way. So therefore, there was this system of biraot, of having these artificial wells, so to speak, that were filled with water, and that would supply the needs of the Ovrei Drachim, of the travelers. And because of that, therefore, people never hesitated to come to Yerushalayim to be Ole Regel, to make the pilgrimage to Yerushalayim for the 3 holiday festivals. So the Gemara tells us there was once a Shnas Batzoret. It was a year when there was no rain. Because there was no rain, there was no water available to fill up the biraot on the side of the road. And the people knew it, that there wouldn't be water on the road, that they could drink and that their animals could drink. So therefore the people would not come up on the pilgrimage to Yerushalayim without having the water is the basic necessity of life. People can go days without food, you can't go without water. So they knew there wouldn't be water. There wasn't going to be water, they're not going to come. Nakdiman Ben Gurion who was a very pious Jew, as well as being a wealthy and influential Jew. Sometimes the two combined, not always, but sometimes. So he wanted to make an arrangement that the Jews should be able to come up on the pilgrimage to Yerushalayim, be Ole Regel for the Chagim. Now, the Roman authorities had their own independent water system. You can see in Israel today remnants of it. Aqueducts, tunnels, water tunnels. They brought water all the way from northern Iraq, from the Euphrates and the Tigris. They had their own, they were master engineers. And they were able, therefore, to always have sufficient water to maintain their presence, to maintain their army, etc., to be here. So he went to the Roman procurator, the Gemara says, and he told him, listen, lend me water. You let me use your water to fill up our biraot on the way to Yerushalayim, so that the pilgrims could come. And at a given date, I promise you, I will return the water. So the Roman says, and if you don't return the water, what will you give me? So he said, I'll give you so many talents of silver. It's an enormous amount of money that even Nagdim Ben Gurion didn't have. The Romans saw that he had nothing to lose from this proposition. So he agreed. And the Romans provided water to fill up the biraot on the side of the road to Yerushalayim. The Jews realized that there was water, with sufficient water for them and their animals, etc. And they all came to Yerushalayim to celebrate the Chag. And the Azara, the temple court, was full. And they had a wonderful holiday. And they all went home. But the Shnat Batzoret continued. There was no water, no rain. And the day approached that Nagdim Ben Gurion had to pay back. And as I mentioned before, the amount of money was so enormous that it would have bankrupted him and the Jewish people generally. And he had no water to give back. So the Gemara says, it's a Gemara in Tainus. So the Gemara says that in the last day, the Roman sent a message in the morning, where can I pick up the check? And Nagdim Ben Gurion sent them back a message, Od yesh li shehus bayom. I still have time. It's in the morning. I don't have to pay you back till night. The Roman waited till afternoon. It still didn't rain. So he sent them a message again. Pay up. And Nagdim Ben Gurion answered again, oh, yesh li shehus bayom, I still have time. So the Gemara says, Liglei Golov Oso Romi. The Roman mocked him. He said, for 6 months it hasn't rained a drop. We got 3 hours left. What are you talking about? So the Gemara says that the Roman went into the bathhouse to amuse himself. Nagdim Ben Gurion ran into the Beis Hamikdash. And he prayed. And he said, Lo lechvodi otzisi v'lo lechvod beis Abba otzisi. I didn't do this for my honor or for my family's honor. I did it so the Jewish people could come to Yerushalayim for the holiday. Help us. Then the Gemara says, Biyad niskashru hovim, the clouds gathered, and there was a torrential rain for a few hours, enormous amounts of water. So it filled up all the aqueducts and all the wells and all the tunnels. Every drop of water that was taken was replaced. One second, please. Hello? Anyway, it's really in a half hour. I'm on Zoom. Mazel tov, but call me back, okay? Mira's grandson just became a chassid. Anyhow, the water was repaid back. Not only that, there was so much water, there was extra water. They got back more water than they gave. So Nagdim and Ben Gurion sent them a message, you owe me change, Odef. I took like 100,000 cubes of water, cubic feet, and I gave you back 101. So the Gemara says, and this is the point, the Roman said, you're right. Yodea ani shalohiri shakorish baruch hu esalomo ela bishvilcha. I know the Rebbeinu Shalom did all of this only because of you. I recognize the miracle. But it was too late. It was after Shkia. It was 12:01. So it doesn't count. So the Gemara says that Adim Ben Gurion ran back into the Beis Hamikdash and he said, Arei show that there are people that you love. Don't let them get away with this. And it says, Biad Nispazru Hovim, the cloud separated and the sliver of the sun could still be seen. The Shkia had not yet occurred. So that's our story here. The Roman said, I know it's the greatest miracle, like Paro says, I know it's a great miracle that all the firstborn died, but it was at 12:01, it doesn't count. Therefore, the Torah said Bachatzos and not Kachatzos, because that's the nature of Rishoyim. That Afila al Pischo shall Gehenna Meinim Chozim B'tshuva. I want to thank you all for listening. Stay well and get your vaccinations. I hope we'll work out a program in shul that the vaccinated people, we can start opening the shul again. Stay well and kol tuv selah. Thank you.